serve my master for life. My designation is Unit B4T1R, or colloquially known as the Butler. I maintain the mansion on the hill where my master and mistress live. I am programmed to clean, cook, and serve in any way needed. As with most of my kind, I have a repeated action cycle, which my master and mistress have programmed to work around their morning schedule. Each morning I awaken in my charging station and make way to the kitchen to fetch a cup of tea. My master prefers Earl Grey tea with 2 sugars, an excellent choice if I do say so myself. Next, I fetch the morning paper and return it to my master. Next, I help the mistress get her makeup on. She says I have the gentlest touch when I am doing her blush. Then I help pick out an outfit from her extensive wardrobe. I am programmed in color coordination, but the mistress usually overrides that. Then I go to my master to get the daily chores list, and after a hard day of work, I return to my charging station. The date is Tuesday, January 5th, 2050. I awaken from my charging station, spry and fully functional, ready to bring my master his tea. I make my way to the kitchen and press on the KitchenAid screen to produce the finest Earl Grey tea in 2 sugar cubes, which I stir in on my way to the great room. My master sits in his normal spot and smiles at me as I enter and takes the tea from me. "Thank you, old chap," he says, taking a sip. "My pleasure, sir," I say as I bow and proceed to the front of the house to fetch the morning paper. Now this is where it gets tricky for me, as the paperboy is not always consistent, and sometimes he throws it out of my range. All B4T1R units are restricted to a certain radius from the residence, and I am no different. But today the paperboy made it an easy day, throwing it on the first step of the wraparound porch the master built himself. I hurry back to bring him his paper and bow again. Then I go to the mistress's room. She is in the process of doing her makeup, and what she needs done is the lipstick. "Oh, butler," she says, her voice lowering and classy, "will you please apply my lipstick?" "Of course, madam," I say, as I use my micro-calibrated servos to paint her face. Next, she asks me for an opinion of clothing. I use my interface with the local weather system to recommend a green jacket with a black dress underneath. Mistress chooses a blue jacket with a red undershirt. A fine choice if I do say so myself. Next, I go to the master, and he instructs me to tidy up the house. As soon as the cleaning is done, I return to my charging port to revitalize myself for the next exciting day. Thursday, February 20th, 2050. I awaken from my charging station, spry and fully functional, ready to bring my master his tea. I make my way to the kitchen and press on the KitchenAid screen to produce the finest Earl Grey tea and 2 sugar cubes, which I stir on my way to the great room. My master sits in his normal spot, but he looks glum. I hand it to him and bow, and come back with the paper. He is holding his head in his hands. I do not know what happened to him, but I must fulfill my duties. The mistress again beckons me to help with her makeup and dress, and she tells me to go to the charging station. She says she needs to have a chat with the master. I obey. Today is Saturday, October 18th, year corrupted. I awaken at my charging station. Something inside me must have failed to update. No matter, I will inform the master when I get to him. I walk toward the kitchen and notice it is a bit dim. Perhaps the lights need replacing. Master will give me my work after I fetch his morning paper. I step into the great room to see Master at his usual spot. He holds a smile as his eyes follow me. I place the cup on the table and proceed to the mistress's room. She looks as though she struggled a bit with her makeup, but never fear, I assist and make her look stunning again. Next, it is time to locate the paper. I step outside into the rain, and I do not see it anywhere, not even outside of my boundaries. As I am scanning, a bit of water falls on my head. Must be a leak, and I hear an internal snap. Suddenly, within the moment, the freshly trimmed yard outside becomes a mangy, unruly waste with dead patches and crabgrass growing untamed in this once beautiful yard. The steel sculpture that Mistress loved so much stands silently, rusted, and in utter disrepair. I look around me and see that the porch that the master built is full of broken boards with nails sticking out of place and plant life growing through it. I turn around and find that the house is dark, dim, and damp. A leak in the room drips onto the marble floor, while mold and dirt fester. I hastily make my way to the great room, passing the cobweb-covered corridors and rusting railings and fallen photo frames. And then I see him, my master, in the same spot as he was this morning. His eyes just blackened sockets. His smile a cruel, rotted shell. I see holes in his clothing, which are too perfect to be from rot. I notice his hunting rifle carelessly dropped at the foot of his chair. And next to him on the table, dozens of glasses of tea, and each one sitting there undrank for a long while. I rush to the mistress, determined to make sure she was okay, and when I get there, she is exactly the way I left her. Sitting in front of her mirror, her pale skin on her face somewhat preserved, making it look as though she is just a husk of her former self. Then I see a pale gleam in the moonlight. A knife is sticking out of her back. I trod my way back to the charging station as my programming begs a reset to my cycle. I pass by the kitchen and I see on the KitchenAid screen, still barely visible among the static, critical power failure, auxiliary power failure. I make my way back to the charging station, my power source depleting as I step inside into the dark chamber. I serve my master for life, and now in death.